Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I wanted to sit down and record some of the thoughts, feelings, and insights that I've had recently regarding America and the Constitution and where our country is at right now. If you know me, you'll know that I'm a very patriotic person at heart. That started back when I was 13, and my U.S. history teacher presented some things about Christopher Columbus that I did not fully agree with. And so I went and did my own research and had to defend Christopher Columbus to my U.S. history teacher. That's a story for another time. But it started me down on a path where I learned as much as I could about America and the founding of America. So today for this video, I wanted to start by sharing the experience that motivated this video. It was July 2nd, earlier this month, the Sunday before we celebrated America's 247th birthday. I was visiting my hometown church that Sunday, and in my church, as part of our services every single month, there's one Sunday a month where the congregation is invited to come up and to share their testimonies and just share what's in their hearts. Given that it was the 4th of July, they shared their testimonies about how America was instituted by God and how this is such a wonderful place to live. We got to the end of the service, and as is tradition on the Sunday before the 4th of July, we stand to sing the Star-Spangled Banner, our national anthem. As I'm standing there and holding my hymn book and reading the words that are on the page, I couldn't help but tear up. The reason why I was tearing up is because there are so many people who talk about America. There's this sort of mentality that we're the greatest nation on the earth. It has led to us being very blind to our shortcomings. There are some days when I see America, America, big bold letters, we're the greatest, we're the most fantastic nation in the world, we're the best country, greatest place to live, just plastered everywhere on t-shirts, on social media, on bumper stickers. And it just makes me a little bit sad, because in all of this, I can see ignorance of where we are at, ignorance of what's going on in this country, ignorance of how far we have fallen. If you're like me and you have moments of despair or sadness when you look around at our country and what it's slowly becoming, you're not alone. But evil only wins when good men and women stand by and do nothing. Now I want to clarify, there was nothing inherently wrong with what the men and the women of my congregation said. In fact, I would agree with all of it. I do believe that this country was instituted by God for his children to further his work and gospel. But it feels silly and almost ironic that we talk about how great it is that God has given us this country, when I don't think that he's very proud of the way that we are taking care of it right now. For everything that America was, it is very quickly becoming everything that our founders were trying to escape. I believe that true humility is seeing ourselves as we are, not more, not less. I think if we're going to heal this country and this nation, then we need to take a good, honest look at ourselves. We need to see not just who we were, but who we are now, and what our potential is still. There is so much happening in politics, government, finances, from the federal level down to the local level, that are causing us to lose our liberties. These attacks are nothing new. Our ancestors have been struggling to follow the Constitution since it began, leading up to and including the Civil War, along with religious persecution against the early American settlers. Over the last 100 years, these things have been building up quite a bit, but we haven't noticed because they've been spoon-fed to us, disguised under seemingly justifiable concepts. From the passing of the 17th Amendment in 1913, throwing off the checks and balances in favor of the federal government, to the going off the gold standard in 1971, to all of the rules and regulations we have now. Look at the bigger picture. At the end of the day, this is no longer a conversation about Republicans versus Democrats, liberal versus conservative, black versus white, or America against any other country. This is about liberty versus bondage, autonomy versus dependence, and good versus evil. This is about your future and your kids and grandkids. Based on what you see around you, where do you think this is going to go? I don't think this is likely to end well. History shows us that there are cycles to world events. Plague, financial collapse, and war come about every 80 to 100 years, the last war being World War II. This is not a societal revolution like the 20s and the 60s. This is a revolution that will shake the structure of our government and shake the core of the world as we know it. We are following the pattern of all the great nations and civilizations throughout history right before they collapsed. Now, this can be a pretty heavy topic, so I want to leave you with 9 things that you can start doing today to help heal America and restore the values that brought us to where we are. Number 1, take responsibility for your life. It's trendy now to blame everything and everyone else for your situation in life, whether that's the patriarchy, the government, your family, whatever circumstances that you are in. Don't blame it on somebody else. We are all dealt different circumstances, but what we do with our circumstances defines us and makes us who we are. It is a mark of our character. Choose now to take ownership of your life. Number 2, take responsibility for your education and for your children's education. Education does not stop with high school or college. The moment that we stop learning, we start limiting ourselves. If nothing else, start reading every day. Take 10, 15, 20 minutes and pick up a book. Also, take responsibility for your children's education. Don't put them in public school just because that's what everyone else does or because you think that is the only way to gain an education. The public school system is broken. Be open to alternative schooling options. There are many private schools out there that will do as good, if not better, of a job than public school. If you want to take full responsibility for your children's education, consider homeschooling them. Number 3, decide now to follow God. Regardless of whether you are a Christian or not, if you know all the sheer number of miracles that had to happen and did happen for this country to be what it is today, you cannot deny that there was a hand of divine providence in it. And the extreme jump in technology and advancement that we've had only adds to the testament that there is a divine power looking out for us. This land has a national covenant with God attached to it. The covenant itself is simple. If we follow God and keep His commandments, He will help us and protect us. This is not something that can be won without divine help and intervention. We need to stay as close to God as we can. We need to have His Spirit with us to give us guidance and direction. Number 4, return to good morals and values. The truth is, you can't have a free society without good morals and values. It just doesn't work that way. It has never worked. When evil comes about, good nations fall. We need to be encouraging, promoting, and defending truth and goodness. There is a very strong pressure to conform to a society that is growing increasingly evil. We need to withstand this pressure. You need to know where your true values lie, what is most important to you. I recommend going and sitting down and writing down on a piece of paper your top 5 values. Seriously, sit down and think about it. What is most important to you? What do you value the most? And then decide now, here and today, that you're going to fight for and defend what you value. Number 5, read the Constitution. Take time to learn and study it and understand it. So, I hear this all the time. Something is unconstitutional, or we have our constitutional rights, but I would bet that a good 80 to 90% of the general population of America has never actually sat down and read the Constitution in full, and if they have, they don't understand it. I would go so far as to say that the majority of our politicians who have sworn an oath to keep and uphold the Constitution have never actually read it and defended it. And honestly, if they did, they probably don't care because they're not keeping it. They're not upholding our constitutional values. I think the majority of people don't know anything about the Constitution beyond the preamble, the First, Second, and Fifth Amendments. That is something that I'm working on right now, actually. I've been reading The Making of America by Cleon Skousen, and it has been eye-opening to me just how far we've come from following the Constitution. The more you read and understand what your rights are supposed to be and what they are now, the more you'll realize just how far we've strayed. Number 6, learn to be self-reliant and be ready for change. We need to be prepared physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, and socially for what is going to happen over the next coming years. We are at the point where we cannot rely on the government to take care of all our basic needs. We need to take matters into our own hands. This means having a food and water storage, having any other basic medical needs or other necessities, toilet paper, for instance. Anything that you don't want to depend on the government for, you need to prepare for now. We need to make sure we're staying healthy and physically active so that our bodies won't need as much medical attention, and so that we can do anything that we may be required to do. We need to be ready to defend ourselves and our families if necessary. If you've never shot a firearm before, I would highly recommend that you go and take a class or go to your local shooting range and learn how to do that. That skill is very valuable. It's also a very good idea to have a basic understanding of medical and first aid. And I would also add to that plant and medicinal herbs. Right now, we can't depend on the hospital for everything, and it's a good idea to know that even with all the shortages, you have alternatives that you can pull from in order to heal yourself and your family. Number 7, build your community. This is an important one. Make sure that you are building relationships with those around you so you know you can trust and depend on them. This includes going out and meeting your neighbors. If you haven't met them already, this means going to community functions, maybe church, maybe something else. Get to know the people around you. They will be your biggest resource and help if things go wrong. America was built on communities that were there for each other, that served and helped one another. We need to bring back those communities. Number 8, stay involved in your local politics. The people are the foundation of our governmental structure. Everything is run by the people, but the next level up is our local governments, so our cities and town governments. We need to stay involved in those just as well. We can't affect everything that is happening at the top of our governmental structure, but we can affect the people directly above us. And if we put good people in place that we can trust to put the next good people in place, that is how our government is built. Plus, your local government also has a lot to do with your daily life, a lot more so than the federal government does. So I would highly recommend that you learn who your mayor is, who your representatives are, and make sure you stay involved in city councils and whatever else is going on. Number 9, don't trade your liberty for safety. There's a quote by Benjamin Franklin. It says, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." If COVID taught us anything in 2020, it is just how easily and how quickly people are willing to give up their freedoms for a little bit of safety and security. It's a very slippery slope. As soon as you give away your liberties and freedoms for anything, it is going to be very hard to get them back. It will take blood, sweat, and tears in order to get your liberties back. This last point I would like to emphasize. America, as we know it, is no longer American. To be American meant building self-sufficient through community. It meant being willing to take risks, to work hard, dream big, build. It also gave us the freedom to fail, which is a very underappreciated freedom. Being American means having courage, creativity, perseverance, and making sacrifices. These traits are not a geographical location or a governmental structure. They are ingrained in the American people. America isn't lost yet. We still have men and women who are true Americans. They are the people that carry the soul and spirit of America's legacy within them. They are genuine and will stand when the need arises. We need those men and women right now. We need you. Hey guys, hope that you were able to take away something from that video, or at the very least, it made you think a little bit. Just as this last little bit, I want to remind everybody that even though we we still have a huge majority of our liberties and freedoms, there are people today who don't. I'm referring to sex trafficking, especially child sex trafficking. Such a thing is absolutely inhumane. It's wrong, it's disgusting, it's evil. I would encourage everybody to go and donate to an organization that helps to fight those things and to spread awareness about that, because there are women and children and individuals who are just in the pits of hell right now, and we need to help them and do our part. If you haven't seen the new Sound of Freedom, I highly recommend that you go and watch it. It is a very, very important movie of our time. So with that being said, I hope all the rest of you have a good day, and that the Spirit is with you and that God is with you.